What's up everyone, just doing JT Apple here, and today I'm here to do a full review of the iPod Touch 5th generation. So here in front of me, I've got the iPod Touch 5th generation, and from first looks, you will notice a new 4-inch display with a 1136 by 640 resolution, a 44% better color saturation, and a 326 ppi pixel density. So this display is exactly the same as the display we saw on the iPhone 5, which is definitely improved from the previous generation Retina displays, and much more beautiful, so that's a great plus right off the bat. The camera is now also 720p HD video recording, but probably one of the most exciting things in my opinion is that they now offer it in quite a few colors, very beautiful colors. I've seen the red, yellow doesn't seem to be as popular, but the black and silver do seem to be pretty popular, and I have to say, it looks really great, and definitely a good break from the chrome back that used to scratch very easily. Another thing you will notice right off the bat, like we did with the iPhone 5 right off the bat, was that it is much thinner. This comes in at just over 6 millimeters and weighs just about 3 ounces. You can see that the buttons are just about the thickest or the width of this device. The nice aluminum blue on the back, anodized aluminum apparently, and the lens does stick out a little bit. It's a little bit bigger now on the camera, but you do get 5 megapixel cameras that are very comparable to the iPhone 5. You now also have a lanyard on the bottom, a lanyard strap that lets you put on a lanyard. I will be doing a demonstration of that later in this review. You now also have a built-in flash for low light images, as well as another microphone on the back, and the Wi-Fi bar, which is one of the things I didn't understand why Apple wanted to expose, but from doing the test, I did get pretty good speeds with this thing, much faster than I did on the iPod Touch 4th generation, so I guess if it doesn't bother you, it's definitely a plus. So, like I said, I do have the blue right here. On the bottom you can see that there's a lightning dock connector, as well as a headphone jack, and also the sleep wake button, which is still located at the same spot on the top. The internals of this device are an A5 processor, dual core, clocked at 800 megahertz, 500 megabytes of RAM, so the specs are almost identical to the iPhone 4S, and it does perform very similarly to the iPhone 4S as well in terms of its specs and speed performance. So now that we're on the home menu, we're going to go ahead and run Geekbench, which is a test that people use to test the overall benchmark of its hardware. So just go ahead and run the benchmark here. So we get a score of 624, which is almost very close to the score we got on the iPhone 4S in the 600s. And Apple does claim that it has 7 times better graphics performance on this compared to the iPod Touch 4th generation, in which I did test some games, and this was much faster, and it can perform games much better than the iPod Touch 4th generation is, as one of the main purposes of an iPod Touch 4th generation is so you can play games on it. It's apparently one of the best-selling portable gaming device. There's lots of apps, developers can do whatever they want with this, so it definitely is a huge gaming market and probably the selling points of this device. The next thing we're going to go and do is do a Wi-Fi speed test and see how well it performs. With the iPod Touch 4th generation and the iPhone 4, which share the same A4 processor, I got about 15 megabits per second download speed, so we're going to see what this got. And for your information, the iPhone 5 scored anywhere between 32 and 40. Just run this test here. And it performed very well, coming in at 35 and upload speed of 4.73, which is very good and pretty high compared right next to my iPhone 5, maybe even higher than sometimes when my iPhone 5 gets around 32. So it's right up there with the iPhone 5 in terms of its Wi-Fi speeds. The next thing I'm going to go ahead and test out is the gaming. I'm going to go ahead and play some Asphalt 7 here, let you guys take a look at that. If you notice any lag, you probably won't. I already tried this game out. It overall loads pretty fast. Works really well. I'm really happy with the gaming performance on this device. We're just going to do a quick play here and just play a quick game. Just go maybe half a lap even. So the game doesn't load as fast as it does on the iPhone 5, but it's definitely very close. Nothing really to complain about here, just some very detailed things I'm picking on. As the iPod Touch, Apple has tried to make this as close as they can to the iPhone 5, which is something that is really great, as it does perform very well. I'm very happy with it. So let's go around here. So far, you don't see any problems with the graphics. The graphics look just beautiful on this new display especially, which does have a difference, 44% better color saturation, and when it was calculated by a professional, they said it was actually just somewhere around the 40% mark in terms of color saturation. So it is definitely noticeable. Probably one of the first things I noticed when I first picked up the iPhone 5. So far so good. The graphics look almost the same as I did on the iPhone 5. I'm definitely very happy with it. So let me know what other games you want me to test out on 4-inch display devices on my iPhone 5. Let's just go ahead and test something else out. So another thing you could probably talk about is the speaker volume. In terms of listening to music, the iPod Touch 4th generation wasn't really that bad. It was good enough for most people, but it did have some muddiness, something that I didn't really notice until I got the iPod Touch 5th generation and compared it side by side. The speaker volume is definitely noticeable. It is much clearer as well when you put it side by side. The iPod Touch 4th generation, like I said, does sound pretty muddy. So the next thing we're going to go ahead and test is the camera. Just let you guys take a look at some footage here. So now we're going to go ahead and test Siri on the iPod Touch 5th generation. Yes, there is Siri on the iPod Touch 5th generation, and it does have some new cool features on iOS 6 as well. So let's see how well this performs. The iPhone 5 performs pretty well with Siri. Let's just see if this can match it. Hello, Siri.
Hello.
Find me a movie.
Checking for movies. I found quite a number of movies.
So you can see Siri does perform very, very well. Gives you a whole list of movies as well as the rating on iTunes and even a trailer if it is available and a summary down here. Gives you some information on who's in the movie, so on. Any information that would help. It's really awesome. It looks really nice. I like the interface of this. Let's go and test out another feature. Find me a restaurant.
Looking for restaurants. I found 15 restaurants. 10 of them are fairly close to you.
So this gives you a list of restaurants, gives you the location right there. It also gives you the rating and the price bars, 2, 3 price class, how much the stuff would cost. And here's some reviews. Tap on that. It gives you a location on the map as well as contact information, a website if there is one, hours if it's available. So it gives you all the information you need when you're searching for a restaurant. Definitely very, very handy. With Siri now, you can also post a tweet, post Facebook stuff, as Facebook is now integrated. I can't actually test it on this, as it's my sister's iPod, and she doesn't have Twitter. But all you need to do is tap that and hit post a tweet. It sends in the tweet, and it overall works really well. But I do know a lot of people are very used to typing it, and Siri doesn't seem like something that a lot of people use every day. So the last thing I'm going to go ahead and test is the web browsing. So I haven't cleared the history, but I'm just going to do it kind of like in an everyday situation when you're just going to go search something. Let you guys see how much faster this performs. The speed should be about double the speed of the A4 processor, but I did notice even faster in that one compared to the iPod Touch 4th generation. Definitely very fast and almost identical to the iPhone 5 in terms of its speed. So there, the site loads up really fast, especially with all these images on Apple's website here. It did take a little bit of a second to stutter, but then the website just came up in full. Looks very nice, and I have to say, I'm very, very happy with the way the iPod Touch 5th generation has performed. Even though there were some complaints on Apple making it $299 for a 32 gig model as the starting baseline model, I have to say, in terms of the specs and its improvements, as well as the display, and making it a lot like the iPhone 5, it definitely makes the price worth it, and it makes me understand why Apple made it $299. A lot of people probably still don't like that, but even though this is much faster, the iPod Touch 4th generation is still a pretty solid device, one to consider, considering you get a 16 gig for $199. But I think for the extra price, it is definitely worth it to head for the iPod Touch 5th generation, as most of the apps now will be scaled to the 4-inch display in the future, and it does seem to be standard for Apple from now on. As well as the processing speeds, the iPod Touch 4 with the A4 processor, as well as the iPhone 4, was a good enough speed, but you will notice some slowing in terms of opening some apps nowadays that developers create that are more graphic intensive, you will notice a bit of a stutter, and sometimes it's frustrated, but as well, overall, it is still a very solid device. But when compared to the iPod Touch 5th generation, the speed is much better, and I'm very happy with it. So that's pretty much all I have to say, guys. This is just the review of the iPod Touch 5th generation. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video.